and see what's going on.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. It is the wonderful and amazing Aunt Jen joining Peaceful Nick. How are you today, Aunt Jen?
I'm doing well, and how are you? I would have to say, like that I'm on a little bit of a fun high from recording with you last night with the yes, like I was a guest on the Twin Soul podcast that will be coming out. I believe it's not this Friday, but next
It's
Friday.
this Friday. It's this
Oh,
Friday.
oh, it's this Friday. It's in two
Yeah.
days.
Yep.
Oh, oops.
We
Okay.
have a fast turnaround. We got
Oh, okay.
Lady Shadow is an editor extraordinaire.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. Well, there you go, Friday. And I was such a lovely conversation. And even just like, so interesting too, of like the conversations we had had before of knowing each other for 30 years and different timing and then being there. So, I mean, I was just so honored. And it was so enjoyable and so looking forward to many, many more because we didn't even know what it was going to feel like or be like. And it was remarkable. So I'm definitely on a high from that from last night. So again, thank you and Lady Shadow.
Well, we could have talked, as we said, for hours, and we had to edit ourselves because it could have gone on and on. That's why I wanted to talk about this subject today.
Mm,
Love yourself first, which we are going to get into. But it was one of the points you made last night. And I know people who've watched my videos have heard me say similar things. So we're going to get into that. But I want to make
mm,
a couple of announcements.
yeah.
I am making donations. We, Peaceful Nick LLC, um, are making donations to the following organizations: Feeding America, Toys for Tots, and Help a Diabetic Child. Some of you may or may not know I was a very poor, underserved child, broken home, addiction, abuse, etc. And we depended a lot on organizations to feed us all year long, actually, and provide toys for Christmas. And so it's now things are real weird out here in the US. So it's absolutely even more important this year to help
Mhm.
donate. You can donate directly through the links in the show notes, or you can donate to me through my Venmo or PayPal. The QR code above should be theoretically my link tree that will take you there. Or if you want to buy a gift card off my website, I'll just donate that money. I've raised $300 so far. I'm pretty excited about
Woo, woo, yes.
it. Also,
Amazing.
I'm so excited. Also, I have a type 1 diabetic son. And so there are so many people, so many young children and parents who cannot afford the medication. And let me tell you, it is extremely expensive. Even with insurance, it is extremely expensive. And type 1 diabetics are fully dependent on insulin 24 hours a day for the rest of their lives. They did not cause anything to get that disease, they just get that disease. And it is debilitating and life changing, and lots of type 1 diabetics suffer very ill effects, and some pass away if they do not have proper treatment. And it is constant. So please, if you can donate, even if it's $1, please do so, either directly to these organizations or through my Venmo, like I said. So I appreciate it, and so will they. I have my, as always, $11 3 card email tarot reading right on my website. All of my one-on-one readings booked through November 30th are buy one, get one free from 20 minutes to an hour. And you can gift your free reading to someone. It's a great holiday gift to someone. And the readings should be finished by, the free readings should be completed by the end of January. Theoretically, again, that's the plan, depending on my schedule. You can get Beginner's Mediumship Workbook or How to Become Your Own Medium Workbook, either the digital format or the paperback through Amazon. The digital is on my website. All of it is in the show notes. And this Friday, we welcome Aunt Jen 888 to the Soul Twin Stars podcast. Lady Shadow and I had a great time, as we mentioned before, speaking with Aunt Jen. And one of the subjects was love yourself first. So, um,
Yes.
I want to say hi to Vivian, Gary for Grace, Serena, Kelly, Holly, Gigi. Hello, hello, everyone. Okay.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. getting up for yourself and coming here, even though you can always watch the recording. Like it's nice to kind of come back, and it sounds, I'm hearing a lot of familiar names that keep kind of showing up consistently. And so like, cause I can't see all that stuff. So I just wanted to say like, thanks for coming for yourself and for us. And we love having you here. So yeah, self-love.
Self-love. And hello, Shanice. So, Aunt Jen, first question goes to you. What does loving yourself mean to you? How does that look for you?
So, there's not one answer per se, right? It's very like it falls under an umbrella, I believe, like of different kinds of things. And so one of the things that I kind of wanted to discuss, I think that sometimes when we hear self-love, we can hear lots of different things. And I think that because it was a new languaging that I think it's been coming out a little bit more and people understanding that. And a lot of times we're hearing that it's about like making sure you're taking yourself on a date and giving yourself a bath and like, different things like that of self-care. I look at that as more self-care and self-love, like through self-love. Under self-love, you can put one of the categories is self-care. That would be one of the things kind of going under self-care. But some of the other things of like really learning to look into it, a full like of really stepping into that self-love is like learning how to say no,
Mm,
having boundaries for
mm,
others and for yourself.
mm,
Another form of like self-love that like I personally was just like ew, but it's like it's true, is discipline.
mm.
Learning discipline, learning, actually honing and understanding and learning what discipline actually looks like. Learning to like be your own best friend, be your own partner, meaning that like if you run down something that you are like either holding on to, that has always been a dream, a wish, something that someone else is involved in being in order for this to be complete, that might be something you want to find and figure out a way to be able to do on your own first. Then maybe that'll come together. And even if you're like, no, someone needs to be there. How do you get, like, example, the getting married thing, right? How do you get married when there's not another person there? Well, that you first do it with, that's a great example of that, of like, if you're really finding yourself like, the thought that comes in your head regularly is like, oh my gosh, I just want to get married. I just want to get married. Well, then maybe that's something you might want to fulfill on your own if you're looking to someone else. That could
Mm.
be a good gauge, right? Is like, what is the repetitive thing that's kind of going in that direction to be able to do that? Another couple ones that this one I think is really big, and then I said a bunch that I think we can kind of stem from there. Learning not to abandon yourself when
Mm.
you're down and when you're around other people. Like that's a form of self-love. And
Yeah.
learning that piece of being like, oh, this is what I do. And I think another, like for me, self-love is really like all these things that I've mentioned, all the different things, is having compassion for myself as I navigate through it. Because
Girl,
even though I can have
this
the
is
concept and the idea, right? But I've got to navigate through this learning to abandon myself. I have to navigate through this, like, wait, I got to discipline myself in like what ways? And like that's self-love. Like, oh, learning to say no to myself and to others, right? Like, but not just being like, oh my gosh, you didn't do it again, right? That's not it's a form of self-love. It's like the compassionate way of actually doing that. So that's just kind of some of the examples of like what I talk about, what I teach when we're like in this self-love kind of container together. But for me, like just the first things I'm thinking about when you said like self-love, because I just found out again like a half hour ago, like, oh, here's the topic. And I'm like, oh, what is it actually? And it's like, it's actually not drawing a nice hot bath and making yourself a nice dinner all the time or taking yourself on a date. It's actually a lot of these things for me that happens to be like self-love.
and this could go in 100 different directions. And we're already getting a bunch of comments about it. And I love it because I will tell you, it was 20 years into my marriage that I realized I wasn't allowing my spouse to love me. Now, good, bad, or indifferent, 20 years is a long time and, marriages have issues, etc. But I was not allowing myself to be loved because I never knew how to love myself
Mm.
properly. So Shanice
So then
said,
you wait, sorry, one comment. So
yeah,
you didn't know how to receive it.
yeah, right.
Right? You
Exactly.
didn't understand that
Yeah.
concept. And until you can learn to be able to do that within yourself, then you can also receive what's coming in with someone else. So very good point. Very, very good
Yeah. And
observation of self.
It took a long time, so don't
Well,
be hard on yourselves, you guys.
no.
If you don't know things, you don't know until you know. Shani said, I struggle with that. I don't keep promises to myself. And she followed up with, I show up for others, but struggle to show up for myself. So let's, Aunt Jen,
That's
what
a
she,
lot to unpack right there. Like, I
yeah,
get that. Well, also, like anything, like, not that it doesn't, but just to kind of put it out there, I think it's important. I want to say this for myself and for anyone else. Like, all the things that I'm talking about or bringing up, I still am dealing with them. Like,
yeah,
I have not, I just might be a little further down the trail of practicing and working, but like, I am a work in progress on the regular. And I'm proud to be like that because, again, this is my love story and I don't want to miss any minute of it. And why am I in such a rush? Like, what is like this rush to try and get to that place of like, oh my gosh, I've arrived. Now I've got full self-love. Like, I don't know if that's necessarily like, I think it's just going to grow
yeah.
deeper.
I have a comment about you talking about how you're still a work in progress, and I appreciate that so much. There's a lady, and I can't remember her name. She's an author, and she wrote Eat, Pray, Love. And she
Oh, great
recently,
book. Her name is the tip of my tongue, but anyway, go on.
anybody knows it, put it in the chat.
That's
She
Elizabeth. Oh,
Gilbert.
sorry. Yes, I think so.
She was on Oprah recently, and all her hair's cut off, and she had this horrific series of events in her life where she divorced her husband. She got with a woman who was her best friend, who they were in love, and she was a very bad drug addict, and she died. And like all of this insane stuff happened to her just over the past few years, way after Eat, Pray, Love. And so
Mm.
it's you think when somebody writes a book like that, they got all their shit together, right? You did the Eat, Pray, Love, you're cured. No,
No, I just
we're
think
never
I think
cured.
I
We're
think
never cured.
it's not about curing. I think I handle things differently. I think it's the same. I use it the same analogy with the meditation of like the light switch, the dimmer. Lights aren't so bright for me. Things are more dim as like being because the love is becoming stronger. And so I'm always going to go forward and there's always going to be this light I look at that's a dimmer light for me to be like working on, whereas instead of this being this like, big flashlight right in my face of being like, you're not doing right. And it's like, that's how it kind of feels to me, and like, to be able to example. And so I don't actually want that light to go out because then I'm not expanding my love towards myself. Like just the same as I wouldn't want to expand I'm not expanding my love towards someone else. So I forgot what the question was that had
I was
read because
just saying,
I think I went somewhere else.
yeah, it's okay. We always do.
Okay.
Um, it was Shanice talking about struggling to show up for herself,
Oh,
which
so okay. So what I would say is compassionate. Like, and one of the things I think is really important, and I honestly like, I'm not sure if I can reiterate this enough. And to other people, they might have a different perception. Like your observation of yourself like that, like let's just congratulate you and congratulate yourself of like being able to see what the statement was that you just read and shared with us, Peaceful Nick. Like that, like I know that space of like you're wanting to do better, better, but it's still happening.
right.
That is something that like where it's like you're not gonna be like, what? Where am I? Like you're aware of it. And that to me is a huge part. And sometimes you stay in the awareness longer than actually doing anything. And that is again being compassionate to yourself of like inquiring, like, okay, we understand this. Why are you afraid to move forward? What can I do to support you? And when I say these things, this is what you're asking yourself. That version of yourself that's kind of in there, you're having a conversation with that inner child that's in pain and being like, but that sometimes is just starting the conversation. But again, awareness is huge,
Yeah,
huge.
exactly. And Gary for Grace said, "Accept yourself." This is a quote. Love yourself and keep moving forward. If you want to fly, you have to give up what weighs you down. Roy T. Bennett, The Light in the Heart. That is beautiful.
I love that.
Beautiful. You have to give up what weighs you down. But sometimes it's hard to know what's weighing us down or hard to accept it. And sometimes we're so comfortable with what weighs us down.
Well, and also sometimes we're holding on to it so tight because we're so afraid of also that something else isn't going to come. But it's like, are you really in this great, if you're talking about like a relationship, you're afraid to leave a relationship, right? I think about this one a lot, but it's like, because you're afraid to be alone. And it's like, aren't you already alone in this relationship? Like, ask yourself that question.
Right.
Do you really have a partner when you're in this? And it's the fear of like the unknown. And I I embrace the unknown. I embrace like, and that has been something I've especially sometimes we're brought into those positions where life kind of takes you where it's like, what are you gonna do? But you know, that's where there's a say, you know, the law of detachment is on Fridays from the 7 spiritual laws of success. And it's like in the area of detachment lies the wisdom to uncertainty lies in the detachment of like not knowing what's happening. And it's like, but I'd have to say, like, not judgment of people, but majority of people cannot live in detachment. They have to know everything. That's what makes them feel safe. And when you see that, there is a piece to it, but there's actually a large wound. I would kind of see that unpack. And I'm a coach, and some of this stuff, like honestly, I can't help with a lot of things. Like you need a therapist, you need, a therapist with a coach, but there you're unpacking that of like, why am I so afraid of that? And what is that, right? That's coming up with that of, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, it's
So Vivian said, with the holidays coming up, everyone remember to love yourself first. Yes, I agree with that. And then what you just said brought up a question for me. Sometimes when you're coaching, because I find this when I do my spiritual guidance readings, it's like a coaching session, just it's a little different. But people will tell me things or ask me things, and I know what to tell them from my perspective of my experience. And sometimes it's like it's right in front of you. You can't see it. I don't say it that way, obviously, but sometimes it's like this happened to me yesterday with a client that was asking me a question about, well, I don't want to go into all the details, but I said, what is that person doing for you? You are doing everything for that person 24/7 and everybody else. And you are holding on to that person so tightly. What are they doing for you?
Mm,
Are they loving you the way you're loving them? Are
mm,
you loving, you have to love yourself, right? And in that loving yourself, people should be reciprocating that love to you. Now, in any type of relationship, friendship, marriage, partnership, you know, cousins, whatever, there's always a time where somebody's giving 90 and somebody's giving 10
mhm,
occasionally, right? If you have to have a surgery, of course, your loved ones should be doing 100% of the work while you're recovering, right? But that shouldn't be forever, right? It should always go back and forth. We have to balance each other out. And
and
when
that
you
I think comes to awareness of the individual that you're in relationship with,
right,
not judgment, just observation of where. And that's why sometimes too, like we're talking about like when someone's in a situation, but I'm going to go to a place where you're not in one yet. And this again emphasizes like the joy of like when you're trying to discover whether somebody is the right partner for you and taking the time. But I think that we're trying to get somewhere that you're not actually seeing, you're missing the flags. There's certain like, or you're not looking for certain things, and then it's like, wait, what happened? And it's like, oh wait, do they have this, and do they make money? Do they have this? And it's like, wait, is it more like, how do they handle this kind of situation? How do they handle a crisis? How do they take care of themselves? What do they do when the shit hits the fan? Right? Like, how is their normal response? Like, because then you learn about people in a different way. I also say, like, I understand that people can fall in love quickly and like all the different things. I mean, I think at least it takes a year with all the seasons to see how someone is in the seasons. How are they? It's not about saying that you can't be with them because you fell in love and I get that. And you don't really understand who that person is, about learning about that person. Like, it's about discovering who they are, which makes you fall in love deeper, right? It's the same thing with yourself. And so it's like taking the time with the seasons, taking the time with like the different times of how you're going to show up differently with yourself. And how do you love yourself through it? And or are you waiting for someone to do that for you and come along and save you and come on? Because I mean, hey, let's be honest. Like, I mean, I was in that team for I don't even know how long, right? Until I realized, like, not only do I not want someone to save me, but like, why would I want to give that power to someone else? Like, absolutely not. Like, I want to save myself. And then it became this whole other drive passion and mission that like I can't get off because my focus and what I decided I wanted shifted. I don't want someone to come along and save me. That's not gonna, it's the same thing. I don't want someone to cut me out to make me the butterfly, even though it would sure be a little easier.
Oh, that's funny. That's on my shirt.
I have butterflies too. I'm wearing butterflies today too.
We did not plan that.
I'm wearing my butterflies today too, and we didn't even know, of course, what we were. But butterflies really, the symbolism for a butterfly for me is very deep because of just the butterfly in general, the migration that they do.
I'll give you a science lesson of the butterfly through my artwork.
Okay, love it.
Wait. This is one of my triple art pieces.
I love that one.
And I've been going through my art, finding my Christmas paintings to hang up, and I found this, and it's so funny.
You have some good Christmas ones. I love your Christmas ones. Those are like, those are so amazing. And you know, if you didn't know that Peaceful Nick is an artist, besides all of her, like, you got some other things coming, because the way you can whip out art, so it's like you are so like, it just shows it's not like you're better than or whatever. It's a fact, to me, it shows how connected you are, how you're just allowing it to flow through you as a vessel. And that's why it just comes out like that, you know, in that kind of, you know,
that's the
quickness.
biggest compliment I could ever get.
Oh, you've always, it's amazing. It's just like, what? How did you, oh yeah, just whip it out. Like I was bored. I remember when you showed me, and I'd be like, what? You're like, oh yeah, a few afternoon. And I'm like, okay. And trying to like show you that so you could see that within yourself, right? Of like what that, but we can't always take that in. But just to finish and wrap up about the butterfly, like the migration, those butterflies with their little wings, like how far, it's like, even just that, thinking about, if you've never even thought about that, like, it's like, are you kidding me? Like that is just, it's mind blowing to me, of like that, the journey that they take and where they go and when they know to rest and how they know to stop, and like those, the most fragile wings ever. And you mean to tell me they go from where to where? And I'm sitting here getting caught up in whatever it is. Like, it's like, are you like, it's just mind blowing to me. So I have a real thing with butterflies, just like I have a real thing with lotus flowers, because the beauty of them comes out of the mud. Like, and it's like, how, you know, it's like you have to be where we try to avoid the darkness. I think that's another thing, like for self-love, if I just is coming, you know, live news, like a lot of it's live news for me, just kind of like comes through. And it's like, I really feel that way. It's like, self-love is learning to be in the darkness and not avoiding it, and realizing that there's a light coming out. You're gonna, like, there's a light there, and you're gonna make it eventually. But most people do whatever they can to avoid the darkness. And the reason is because of the story they've told themselves, that it's going to be too painful. Once I start, I mean, I've heard it all, and I get it. I'm not minimizing it, because listen, I've got my stories for whatever my story is. This isn't one of them based on, right? It's like, find something else and you'll find me telling a story. So it's like, but that's what I've discovered through sharing this information and working with people, and like, or people that are just completely against it, and like listening to what they're saying and all their reasonings. Kind of the same thing as meditation. It was like talking to you, and it was like you had your whole stuff. It's not judgment, right? It's just a great opportunity to talk about it. You had your whole gamut of all the reasons why you weren't going to do it, B, it wasn't going to work, and C and D. And it was like, okay. And I didn't judge you, right? But I just kept on. And then it was like, then something switched. But your story that you had was so, you were buying it. It was like, you had it. Like, there's no way, I could never quiet my mind. And I kept trying to be like, that's not what it's about, right? And you're like, but the truth was, you weren't ready to sit with your thoughts. And once you were able to really like be okay with that, to be like, oh, and then what happened? Then it turned out to be what you had no idea, right? What that was going to look like, because you were in a place of willingness to be like, okay, I got to do this if I want to do this with spirit. And I need to be doing that. And then you're like, oh, interesting. But you had all this story, right? About how hard this was going to be.
Yeah, like we do. So when there's a bunch of comments, we're behind a little. Kelly Foster said, good morning.
Good morning, Miss Foster.
Love you. Shanice said, in my case, I feel like I know what needs to be done, but somehow doesn't to do the work. Right. Like what we were just talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Mangled is here, and my wonderful moderator. I appreciate you. She said, not gonna lie, I have a bitch fit first, but I won't avoid change or the unknown now. Yeah, yeah.
Wait, can we stop for 1 second though? Because I just want to I want to make a comment on Mangled. Like, God bless you. And the reason I'm saying this is because yes, have your bitch fit first.
Yeah,
Because that's the whole point is like
yeah.
that's loving yourself by allowing yourself to have this bitch fit that you need or that you need
You
and this
got
you
to get
need
the
and
energy out. You got to,
yes.
I've
And
heard
not make
people
yourself
say,
wrong for it, not judge
yeah,
it, no right, wrong, good or bad. And that's a part of the process.
yeah, I've read in books and stuff. It's like, you don't have to complain and you don't have to have, and it's like, yeah, you don't have to, but I don't like to hold that energy in my body. Like sometimes it's like if you just say F, the whole word really loud, sometimes that's an energetic release that makes you feel better. You stub your toe and you say, and you feel a little bit better, right? I'm not hurting anybody. There's nobody around to hear it. I'm just releasing energy. Now, people could criticize this or whatever, but I just like to, some days have my own pity party. And that's okay. But you know what? I know the whole time, the next day I'm going to rise up from those fucking ashes and I'm going to be a badass, most badass bitch you ever saw.
Mm-hmm.
But someday,
we get stuck there.
yeah,
And that
right.
happens sometimes, and it's okay of learning it. Like you have to learn about yourself, of your patterns of getting stuck, and then finding tools to help when you're in the stuck.
Mm, yeah.
And that's where it's like,
But
because that's where you're not thinking straight, right? It's like a crisis. It's like, I'm not thinking straight. That's why you have this stuff lined up. Okay, this is what happens when this happens and this happens. It's like preparing for labor, right? You have the bag ready, but you don't know what's going to happen. And it's like, okay, do the same thing. You got to prepare for yourself. So when these things happen, and that's how you learn. And that's what I love to do is helping people figure out, okay, what's in your toolbox? What can we use for you when these things are happening to help bring you back to yourself that takes so long of repetitiveness? Even sometimes that's where I come with it's talking about the pattern interrupt. Even just thinking to do something different is doing something different. And sometimes that's just where you stay. You actually don't do anything, but you think differently until something shifts. And I am a firm component, and like that is work. That is something that like, and most people will just minimize that of like, well, you keep saying that. That's why it's like keeping what's happening with your development with yourself to sacred kind of a story, with yourself, and then sharing with people that actually will listen. Otherwise, you're just going to get minimized again. And then it just is repeating the same kind of things when it's just like, okay, and someone doesn't understand. Then you try and it's like I've lived in that place then you try and explain yourself and you over explain because of what you need to do. And in actuality, like you're explaining to, I don't even know who, because they're not ever going to get it. Like, it's just, you're doing that for yourself and you're making yourself go crazy.
So again, we're super behind, but I just want to.
Are we behind? Are
yeah.
we though?
Well, I mean,
How?
I want to be appreciative to the people who were here.
We will. We're appreciative people. We'll get to everyone. We'll never be like, if we miss something, we'll talk about it later. Like, we're not going to leave you high and dry.
Okay. Mangold said she misses her best friend, but her best friend was enabling her. The less I drank, the less we hung out. I'm not a party favor to laugh at. Fun fact, I don't drink anymore and she's gone. Go figure. I would say that it was boosting her ego to make you look bad. That's what I would say. And that's pretty common, like in friendships, in family relationships, sometimes in partnerships, like romantic partnerships. Sometimes one person is boosting their ego by making the other one feel worse. Like I have a relative who constantly talks about everybody else all the time because she's so insecure in who she is that she can't handle it. And so she just picks scapegoats in the family and picks on them and makes stories up about them or exaggerates a small, tiny thing into some big story. And, that person, there's no room in my life for that person. Right.
And the other thing I would say about that too, is that you can like, yes, that piece of it. And it can also be like to be able to focus on someone else, then you can avoid yourself.
Right.
Same, like it's like, so they can avoid, if this person if your best friend had a drinking problem too, like it's easier to focus on you than to have to be like, oh wait, maybe I have something. And so by you changing, it was easier to just focus on you because they didn't want to have to look at their own side of the street and what had to happen, as well as what you added to. All of these things are a part of it. I think there's not
Right.
just
Oh, yeah.
one
It's the
one
puzzle.
answer.
Yeah,
It's
the
what,
puzzles are complex in human relationships, and our own, just our own relationship with ourselves has 1,000 puzzle pieces.
and
Then you got another
changes.
person with 1,000 puzzle pieces, and then sometimes the puzzle pieces turn over and are backwards, and it's like, what is happening? Vivian said it's complicated. That's what it, remember on Facebook when you could have a relationship that's it's
Yeah.
complicated? We have a complicated relationship with ourselves. Some people deep down inside know the answer, but are conditioned by society to always seek outside confirmation or approval from others. Yes, that I would say is a very, very large large portion of society.
Yes.
That is very, very common, and it's unfortunate.
And it can be a form, that could be also a form, just talking as that came up, that can be a form of self-love, of learning how to take responsibility for yourself and not offloading it to others and giving, we can look at it that way. And then there's also a that we're not subconsciously doing things, and there's a conscious level of it too. So it's like, that can be put on there as well if it feels applicable.
Exactly. Hello, Kelly. She butterfly. Kelly always uses the butterfly. You know what's funny? I want to talk about the butterfly real quick. I haven't worn this shirt in over a year, and with the butterfly on it. I got this in Los Angeles last summer when I was teaching an international class of students at USC, and we went to the Science Center, and I saw this pretty butterfly shirt, and I'm like, I have to have it. And it was too tight. I don't like tight shirts, so I sent my husband back the next day to get me in a bigger size, because I'm a little voluptuous. So I need room. So I wore it. I made a couple videos on my TikTok with it, and then I put it in my closet. And this morning I was looking for a shirt to wear. Now it is very cold today in Florida. Like there was frost on the roof across from me. And I'm like, it's not really a t-shirt day. It's a blouse day, but this is like a butterfly t-shirt. And I saw it and I'm like, I'm going to wear the butterfly shirt. And then you have your butterfly shirt on, like,
which I haven't worn in,
right?
I can't tell you how long. And
It's
it's usually only something that I wear when I'm trying to be fancy or like go out. And like, it's usually I'm wearing like my yoga clothes or like comfortable. It's not that comfortable. Like this is definitely not something that I will be wearing. And I had different things to look for. And I was like, oh, I'm feeling my butterfly this morning.
Wild.
Brain bridge again.
So wild. We've had that psychic connection for so long. Judy's Healing Fire says, hey ladies, this is as I drive to work. I'm so excited. I will be live with Judy next Tuesday again in the evening, 8 Pacific or 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. We had a great time last time. I'm looking forward to going live with her again. It's Tuesday Queen Tarot or something. We have the title written down.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So I'm excited. Vivian said, I'm eating a butterfly shaped cookie this morning. What a coincidence. I don't think that's a coincidence.
There's no coincidences. No. I don't live that way personally, but.
And Vivian knows. She's one of my mentees. She knows. Mangled, this is such a great point. When we are young, we think the cavalry will come. Once again, you gain perspective. You realize you are the cavalry for yourself. And I just had this conversation with Aunt Jen a couple of weeks ago. I had a situation a couple of years ago that I desperately needed to be saved from, I thought, right? I was very upset about something. And I was looking for her to save me. And guess what? She didn't save me.
And it blew us out. Like it blew us out to be like, you girl, like not being public, but the universe was like, you girls don't get to hang out right now. Like until whatever needs to happen that you two need to figure out. Right. And that's like, that's never happened to us in our 40 years of friendship. And I'm really grateful. Not that there's not stuff on my side of the street, but I'm really grateful that not only were you able, that's what I'm talking about, an awareness, right? You were able to see that. You were able to actually, own that in some way. And we were able to heal and talk about things because I was kind of in a place of being like, hey, right. But we had been in that kind of relationship where I was always kind of saving, we're saving each other and doing different things. And then it became a point where it's like, you can't really do that. And just to kind of go back about, there's a point of once you realize too, no one's coming, there's no Calvary, that there's a process of grieving,
Yeah.
kind of like grieving the process of not having the relationship or the parent the way, like, and sometimes that's where we can get stuck, right? And then we're doing, but there's also work of ourself. And if you're in someone who, like myself personally, I believe I'm doing generational healing, so that's why I believe I do it longer. When people are like, are you done yet? And it's like, listen, I'm doing some work for a bunch of people that never did it. And so this is
Right.
going to take me a little bit longer. And I don't need other people to understand that anymore, nor do I feel like even explaining it, because I know for a fact that's what I'm doing. Knowing my lineage, knowing where I'm coming from, knowing who's doing the work or what's happening. And I'm like, oh, you said you do it, Jennifer. Okay. And that's why I believe it feels heavier. And so if you're in that place, it's not about blame or for you to, skirt your responsibility. But if you're finding that it's way heavier and you're trying to be like, why is this so? You might be someone that's doing generational healing. And that, my friends, is a whole nother can of,
Well, we sometimes have to get a can of out on ourselves. And it's
exactly.
really hard when you have to do that. It's like, oh God. Like you were saying earlier, I wrote it down, not avoiding the darkness. Anybody you know who's dealing with dysfunctional emotional patterns in their life, just in general, people who can't communicate properly, people you've tried to repair a relationship over and over with, people with different types of addictions, either whether it's to porn or video games or alcohol or drugs or gambling or whatever. Anybody that's in a dysfunctional loop over and over for years and years and years isn't sitting with it. They're avoiding the darkness because the darkness hurts and they don't want to hurt. That's why they numb themselves with all this other stuff. And it's hard to sit in the darkness. It is hard to sit in the darkness, and it's painful.
Alone. You're alone. Doesn't matter even if someone's there. I think that's the other thing, is that we're in the darkness. You want someone to be there for you. And yes, they can, but like you're still in the darkness alone. And so you have to learn how to navigate that alone and also be able to have people to support. But like we're in this on our, that's what I'm saying. We journey together. We're talking like, going down the path. We're like hiking, right? And it's like someone can understand. That's why I am always like, you find your tribe when you find yourself. And then as you're on this journey, then you find a tribe of people that are like, oh, wait, you do that too? Oh, okay, I got this advice, I can give you that. But like, they know too, like, oh, this is a solo journey. Yet you don't do it alone, but it's a solo journey to your
Right.
soul.
Angel KO said, isn't every Gen X millennial doing generational work? Yeah. So Gen X, we were raised by boomers, right? And so I just had this
Or the quiet generation is what I've heard them referred to. And I like that a little better. Sorry.
That's
Because
okay.
they are they're the boomers, but they are quiet. They didn't talk about anything. So they're like the quiet generation of like, we're not gonna like
And
talk
you go
about
back
anything.
to generation before that, and a
Was
generation
even quieter. Exactly.
So we were taught, push it under the rug. My grandma, I won't say my maiden name, but my paternal grandma would say children should be seen and not heard. That's what I grew up hearing. And she was mean. And I understand why now, but at the time I didn't understand. I was just a little girl who wanted to be hugged by her grandma and didn't understand why she was mean and why she drank beer all day. I do now. I would have been drinking beer all day too if I had her life.
Right.
But at the time I didn't understand it. And they were taught, shut up and deal with it, especially the women, especially.
And don't have any feelings or emotions, especially that. And I came in with both, like from jump. And that was just like, oh, this girl has got to like, and then just completely yeah, I can't even finish the sentence.
I get it, because you don't want to go in your darkness right now.
No, I'm just.
Judy said, own your inner goddess, be the queen of your life. Exactly. Exactly. And sometimes we have to become the queen of our own life to the detriment of other people who are in our lives. Like sometimes when you become the queen of your life, people around you don't like it because they're like, you changed. And it's like, you're supposed to, because you're a butterfly. You're supposed to change. If you're not changing, you're the one with the problem.
Yeah. If someone said to me, I mean, I think people could say like, oh my gosh, the core of me is still the same. Like people that really know me, the
Right.
core of me of like this beautiful, loving, person who has this big energy and can be really loud and can be fun. Like the different things, that's me and I hasn't changed. But who I am and how I show up in the world has on a regular basis because I do the work. And there's a difference there. So someone who never changes, like it's looking at like, people don't want that. And I think that's what also causes problems in relationships. Like that you get into a partnership and one person doesn't want someone to ever change. And it's like, oh gosh, like
Yeah.
that is like, that would be like that's a red flag for me. Like, just being like
Yeah.
that. I mean, that just doesn't seem possible. And that's this kind of doing, let's do everything the same because I'm going to avoid my feelings. I'm going to avoid whatever's going on. That's how you're able to keep doing everything the same. Like this
Right.
kind of go to distract myself from myself.
And when people who have been, married for 10 years or 20 years or whatever, and they suddenly get divorced and everybody's like, but we thought you were the perfect couple. It's like, but we grew apart. They grew apart because one person grew at a different rate than the other one. And sometimes that rate is somebody's going 100 miles per hour and somebody's going 1 mile per hour. And sometimes it's 20 to 80. Doesn't matter. If you can't keep up, you're going to get left behind. I say it all the time. This is something scientists say, evolve or die. Evolve or die. And that's the truth of every species on Earth and anywhere else in the universe. If you are not evolving, you are going to die. Period. Your species is going to die. If your relationship isn't evolving, no matter who it's with, it's going to die. Period. Dot. End of story. You cannot stay in a stagnant relationship and have any quality of life whatsoever. I personally am not interested in any type of relationship with any person, friend, family, partner, doesn't matter. If it is not evolving for the better, I want no part of it. And I do have grace. I do understand not everybody is going to evolve at the rate I'm evolving. 20 years ago, I didn't know that. But I've evolved. And now I know not everybody is going to change and like all the things I like and understand all the things I do at the same rate. So I do not just, dump people who oh, you're not changing like me, so bye. But there is a time of, okay, we've gone to a point where this is no longer cohesive at all. And there's no hope for any type of friendship or family relationship or whatever to be successful for either of us. So I love you, but we're just not going to spend a lot of time together.
Right. And, actually, that's when sometimes we hear a lot of chatter, but what is the action? What is the person actually doing?
Right.
Saying, so it's like that's where you have to really pay attention to actions on someone. And it's really not about like, it's really about their own personal self because they can be a better partner by what they're willing to do for themselves too. And that's another thing is like someone who's trying to like, I'll do whatever to save the relationship. But it's like, what about saving yourself? It's in the relationship first. And so you can kind of differentiate the two. But yes, I mean, to all of that, it's like, yes, yes, yes. And I am not interested in any way, shape, and I have nothing but love and understanding for people. But I'm just like, I'm not here to tell you anymore. If you can't see where you've got something, I am no longer. And I also don't need you to just interject anything, which is a new thing for me. Cause I'm always like, oh, let me help them. Let me try. And like, and it's like, oh no, you know what? No.
I'm at that point right now. If you're an adult and you can't see that you have growth to do and you can't figure it out, there are tools called the internet. I don't know if anybody's heard of
you
that.
can't see your side of the street in the relationship. That's when it's always you're projecting on the other person, and that's a real problem.
Right.
It's a real problem, and it shouldn't always be the other person having to, we talk about responsibility or self-awareness, right? And my definition of that is it's a level of you can't always, obviously we're in our situation, so you can't obviously always know what you're doing and how you're impacting people. Okay, that's very clear. Like we can get in our worlds and you can't see straight, but that's what I'm talking about. Awareness is that you actually see and reflect on yourself, on how you'll show up, and then take into consideration where the other person might be, or what's happening, or what's going on. Like it's like that's awareness. Or having some kind of situation happen where it's like, wait, what happened? And you did that through text messaging? We're
Mhm.
like, that is completely like, and who started that whole thing of like whatever is going on? It's like a misconception and miscommunication. It's like that is just like, that is not really how that direction is going. But it's like you're stuck in that place. And it's like, do you have any awareness of how that went? That whole thing probably started that. And like, wait, where's this? And it's like, that to me is awareness, instead of always like having your blinders on and being like you. And it's like there is a piece that's the person, but it's also about yourself. And sometimes even from yourself is like, you know what I did? I didn't speak up. I didn't actually voice what I needed to voice me because I was afraid. So that's
Yeah.
my part on, what that was. And I'm giving myself grace because of A, B, C, or D. And I'm willing to show up and take that. But like when it's one-sided and it's someone dictating and it's like, I mean, it's like how let's evaluate that
I,
or not.
one of my biggest realizations in the last couple of years is that I have been very resentful to my husband and my kids who are adults now, not when they were little. Okay. Don't everybody relax. Because I was the stereotypical mom who planned all the grocery lists, planned all the meals, planned all the snacks, did all the dishes 99.9% of the time. Did all of the stuff moms do, the taxes, the paperwork, all of the stuff. I did it all most of the time. And I was very, very resentful. And I realized I had a voice that I didn't use.
Mm,
And I've expressed this to my husband. I'm mad at myself for
mhm,
becoming resentful because my husband's always like, let's go do this. Let's go do this. No, I can't. No, I can't. First of all, I was tired because I worked 2 jobs and that's another whole story. But then who was going to do the dishes? Who was going to put the clothes away? Who was going to vacuum the floor? I
mhm,
avoided spending time with my family because I had to do all this housework. And I should have said, listen, if you help me, and at one time I did eventually say it, if you help me take care of these things, I'll have more time to go do fun things.
mhm,
But nobody's helping me. Now,
mhm,
other people will say that was weaponized incompetence on his part. And partially it was, but that was the house he grew up in. His
mhm.
mother did everything 24/7, and he was never taught those things. Now, he is a very clean and helpful person in general, but all that other stuff, it was hard for me to
And I have
admit.
to say, one point I'd put on that is that to me, that's always been my my lighthouse of when I know where I'm at with my healing process, because every relationship, every friendship, every interaction that I've ever had where they've been something going on, whatever's happened, when I get to the place where I'm upset with myself for how I showed up, that's how I know I've gone through what I need to go through with them. And that's actually where I spend most of my time. I don't spend my time on that person and what they did. That's my distraction. This is just me for how I process and do things. That's my distraction. And then once I'm able, when it hits me in the face and there's nowhere for me to go anymore, and that's where I sit of like, oh, my part. Like, and it's always about how I abandoned myself. It's always about how I didn't speak, all the different things of like how I'm really not upset with that person. I'm upset with myself,
Right. That is hard to
period.
swallow.
And
And
then when I stay there and there's not anything towards that other person anymore, and that's how I know for myself that I've detached from that, but I'm doing the work and the healing. And there is, of course, going to be points of like this person, but I'm not going to spend my time there personally.
right.
I'm going to spend my time where I'm like being like, Jennifer, where did you sign up and do that?
Mhm.
And where did you like, wait, you did what? You set some guy's alarm clock for some girl that he's cheating on you with? Like, are you an idiot? Right? It's like, where were you at with yourself thinking that's even okay? And like being like upset with and being able to really be honest with myself and being like, wow, you did what? and what is that saying about you, and what that, but you're trying to project into this other person of like what they did, and it's like, no, Jennifer, like you. And so I'm just saying these are the conversations, but it's like that from what you're talking about, I just had to say that because like that is for me is crucial. Like that's when I know that like I'm in the right place.
Exactly.
Once I stop the projection and I'm willing to see my side, and it's always like I am devastated at how I allowed myself to be treated, and then I provide grace for the fact that I didn't know any better all the time.
Yeah,
and
that's
I'm learning, and now I'm learning, and now I'm not going to allow that to happen, and now and understanding where that came from and seeing how it was just like, oh man, how are you going to miss that? It was just, I mean, you could just really like, it's so obvious, of course, and you can get, and then you get stuck in there, and that's okay. That's a part of it too.
A lot of self-reflection.
Yeah.
Angel said, interesting fact, a monarch butterfly broke its wing, a sanctuary glued a cadaver wing, and was released to continue its journey. I did see that because I follow a lot of science stuff, so that's cool.
Wow, that is unbelievable. Yeah, that is so really cool.
It was so beautiful. Judy said, you can't control what other people think, say, or do. You can only control what you think, say, and do. 100%. Let's see. Mangled said, people see you for like what, an hour? That snapshot is not the entirety of your life. Many need to zoom out, way the fuck out. Exactly. We are an ocean in a drop of water. Vivian said, Chinese culture discourages children to speak their minds. We are aware because we grew up in the Bay Area. We have lots of Asian friends in our lives. She said, I didn't speak my mind as a child, but my mind was soaking up all the energies and emotions in the room and analyzed every adult at the table. Yeah, that's because you had these spiritual before.
And that's it could be one of the reasons why you did, because you didn't have anyone to talk to. And so that's how mine first started, was because it was just like, okay, I don't know what's happening, but like these people here, like you're not really understanding it. Like there's no one here I'm connecting with, but yet something's happening with these other sources that I couldn't explain, but it brought me peace. I didn't feel beat up. I didn't feel bullied. And it was nothing. It was just pure light of beauty. And so I just kept following, but not understanding, not knowing. But, you know, there's just a knowing of like what you're hearing while you're in these situations of being like, well, what is going on? Right? Of like, what doesn't belong here? It's like, you could go around. It's like, oh, that doesn't. Very obvious.
Exactly. Judy said, I was married for 22 years. It should have been there. I thought it was my responsibility to make things work. Clearly, the other half was not interested. I deserve respect. And that's what everybody has their own tipping point, where once I can only speak for women because I'm a woman. I'm not a man, so I cannot speak for men's side of the story. But for women, once that switch flips, it doesn't go back. And women will put up with a lot. They will, and try and beg and scream and cry and be like, just love me, love me, love me. But you know what? Half the time that person isn't even worthy of their love. But that's another podcast. Anyway, that's another story. But once we realize, oh, click, that's not going back.
Yeah.
Once you see the other side, you're not going back again.
And people don't get that too. You can tell them, like, I don't want this to happen. You know, I'm not trying to like threaten you. I'm just saying when it does happen, like there's no going, and then something happens and it's like, oh no. It's like I always look at it as my iron gate. The iron gate comes down. It's like, ooh, that one's closed. Like the key's gone. Like it wasn't me. It was like someone else, you know, some other places like, oop, nope, we threw away that key. Like that one does not go back up because we've learned what we needed to learn about how we need to be treated. And it's not even about how we're being treated. What I've also learned more is like, it's how I can watch by how you treat yourself. And I'm not interested in that anymore because the way you treat yourself is a great example of how you're going to treat me. And so why did I think anything differently? That's again, why self-love, like, how does that person treat themselves? Do they really love themselves? Like what, you know, like, so to me, that's something that's very important. Like, what's their love story? What's their love story with themselves? Because that is going to show me what is a possibility if I choose to be in a love story with them, like, you know, what that kind of looks like.
And what are they prioritizing in their life? I tell, you know, some women love big, muscular men who are tough on the beach with their tank tops on. Nothing could be more of a turnoff to me. Now, my husband exercises every day. He's very athletic, but he's not buffed out wearing his tank top on the beach and, you know, one of those guys. He's just very active. But nothing turns me off more than somebody spends 4, 5, 6 hours a day in the gym. Who are you spending time with? Are you doing anything positive? Do you have any relationships in your life that are quality? So it's just one of those little things that triggers me to think, if you have a wife and kids at home and you look like that, you're spending way more time at the gym than you are with your kids. And so you can still exercise and be in shape without spending 6 hours a day getting
And
buff.
I look at some of those things, like depending on that, is like you're spending so much time on the outside and avoiding the inside. And I
Exactly.
personally am not. I understand how people, like, I just love people. Like, I'm not men, women, whatever that looks like. It's just like, what is on the inside? What's that love on the
Right.
inside versus like what that looks like, what's showing up on the outside and how that is kind of showing up. Because sometimes people will be like, what is going on with that person? Like, you're beaming. Yeah, I want it to come from the outside. That's what's happening with me. Like, my inside beauty will come and radiate
Right.
and
It's
literally
energy.
smack you in the face
Right. That's
because
your energy.
because of the inside. Whereas the outside, you might be like, huh. Well, I mean, it's kind of whatever your judgment is, but that's not what this should look like as an ideal, this beauty of what I'm seeing from this person. Yeah, because it's coming from my inside. But you're
Because you
trying to look
love
at my
yourself.
outside and say that it should look like this, and this in order for me to be presenting this kind of energy. And so then I would just like stifle myself when now I'm like, no, it doesn't have to add up like that. It can look like this in a body and actually exude something completely different because I'm working on my inside of
Right.
what that is versus like trying to look on the outside where you're chasing yourself,
Right.
really, in a lot of ways. I mean, the outside's very important. I'm not saying that's what I'm saying. Learning discipline, right, to be able to do physical activity. And I'm not minimizing that. I'm saying, but where are you spending your time? And personally, like, I look at what are you doing on the inside?
Exactly. And that's the most important. That's why you exude that energy. Candace said, where did it go? I'm still that girl. I think she was talking about when I was talking about when I did all the dishes and all the stuff.
Mm.
But she's starting to show up for herself now. Good. Judy said, at one point I was on max antidepressant and anti-anxiety medication. I weaned myself off, learned to be in my own power. This was life-changing. The doctor asked me what changed. I said I divorced it. Congratulations. What a journey, Angel said. How old were your kids? Okay, they're talking to each other. Tell me about it. My mom's family's Chinese. Mangold said, don't get me started on the patriarchy. Right? That's a whole other thing.
That's a whole nother can of
whole other thing. Women, women are like Pringles. Once you pop, you can't stop.
Oh, Mangled. You
We
are.
say that all the time. Once you pop, you can't stop.
Yeah.
We say it all the time. Vivian said to Mangled, I enjoyed every moment analyzing, letting things play out. Yep. Okay. So we will be live again next week. Aunt Jen is on the Soul Twin Stars podcast this Friday. It is released here on YouTube and everywhere podcasts are found. Any last minute comments, Jen? Anything you want to add?
I just will add like what I said last night, like on the podcast, that I really believe. I mean, you're worth your own love story. Like, so, I mean, if you're finding yourself thinking that you're looking into this love story with someone else, and you're the only one that can answer these questions, right? Of what your mind is going and what you're projecting and what you're thinking. If you're on that path of like, it should be happening to me. I'm this, trust me, I know I did it for decades. Like, but if that's what you're doing, then maybe shifting that and like, what is this regards to your own love story that you're creating so that you can share with this person that you end up meeting?
Right.
Like that you have this whole, and if that should make you more attractive. And if not, that's probably the wrong person, right? Like if I went out with someone and I was like, yeah, I'm a self-love coach, or, I talk about that and I marry him, and someone had like any kind of a comment that was like, what? That sounds crazy. But like, ooh, done, over, right? Like kind of like doing different things. Like it's someone's response. You put something out there and then you see how they respond to something. So, but you're not sure how that happens until you're in that place of love with yourself. So
Right.
my thing that I'd project or put out there, not project, but put out there with regard to self-love is that it's not all bubble baths and having a date with yourself to go to a restaurant or go to, I mean, those are very important, like to be able to do these things on your own. And it's also, where do you abandon yourself? Where are your boundaries? It's saying no. Like these are all things that are, being able to do that. And one of the things that I talk about is just like, it's really about your situation and love story with yourself. So stop looking outside and comparing yours to anyone else's.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what someone's love story is with themselves or with like any of that. And so it's like going back to you and what is your love story? Can you even answer that question? What does that look like for you? And what is that, or is everything about someone else? Once I'm with someone else, everything is going to be okay. Everything is going to be what I've been looking for. All, just find out be honest with yourself about what are your conversations about self-love and what are your conversations about being in love in general with other people.
I love it. It's so true. Love yourself, boundaries, do the best you can, have grace for yourself because nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes. I will make 1,000 more mistakes probably.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
January 1st. Don't think just because we're on the internet talking about self-love doesn't mean we've reached the pinnacle. No, it's a journey forever. And we're just trying to help anybody, like Aunt Jen said last night in our conversation, just, because I have different decades of experience doesn't mean you have to be where I am. I'm just trying to get you to avoid having all that baggage for 30 years that I carried.
And I'm just trying to share the tools that have worked for me to get on this journey, and maybe it inspires you to have another tool. Like it's not that I'm the end all, like that is not where I do not want that pressure, nor do I want that responsibility, but I'm more than happy to journey alongside you as you're doing it. But like, I do not hand that over to me. Like, they say like a guru. You know what guru stands for? GURU. In another, right? You can hear other things. People will give another terminology, but I like that one as a guru, like GURU, because I don't want to be someone's guru, right? To look up to say, oh, that's my guru, right? And it's like, no. GURU. Like, no one is someone's guru. Be your own guru with yourself. Like, I have no desire to step into that field of like, oh my gosh, and everything Aunt Jen says, so like I want it to just inspire you to find your own kind of way, because I'm still healing myself. You think I've arrived somewhere? Like, oh my gosh. Like, I mean, I've arrived at a new level with myself, which is unstoppable and unbreakable. And there still is so much more that I don't want to miss out on with my own love story, with my healing process, with all of it.
Right.
For me personally, once I'm done, like, I think that means I'm done. I'll be like, bye-bye.
Okay. On that note, everyone, we love you. Stay tuned for Friday morning Soul Twin Stars podcast. I will be live Friday night with my regular live streams. I have a new class coming up in January. I'll be posting about it. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Aunt Jen.
Thank you.
See you guys later.
Bye. All right, butterfly kisses. Bye.